sequence on starting a DJ business or starting a photo booth business, basically starting a small wedding industry business. We're going to be going through kind of the basics of getting started. We've got 10 weeks that we're going to be hitting this starting this week. And tonight we're going to be talking about the research of it. So if you are wanting to get into the wedding industry and you want to be able to do this and do this well, this series of videos is for you. Tonight is the research. So I'm going to flip my screen over here to, well, let's hang on a sec. I've got to do one more thing. There we go. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about the research. What this is when we have got an idea that we want to create a business, we see an opportunity to do something in the wedding industry. It might be something with photography, it might be something with entertainment, it might be something, whatever. We see something and we get excited, and then we get this little feeling in our tummy that, oh my God, this is the greatest idea ever. No one has ever had an idea as good as my idea, and we want to go and we want to run and jump and invest and do these different things. The problem is that that's the way a lot of us started, and it was really fortunate that some of us started back when we did, because back then it wasn't as difficult to start a business as it is today. Yes, it's cheaper in many ways to get into the business today, but there's a lot more competition in many areas today than there was back 30 years ago when a lot of us were starting, or 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, depending upon which industry we're in. So tonight we're going to talk about why the research is important, because if you don't do these things, you're going to eventually just have some major problems. So the first place you need to start is really considering what should you offer. And what that means is that you have to look out at what is out there in the world for similar things. Are you going to be offering an entertainment thing that's unique? Are you going to be offering something in this that's going to be unique? What should you offer that people are willing to pay for? Sometimes we have the greatest idea and we think people are willing to pay for it. And then once we put it together and we find out people really aren't going to pay for that service. You know, we really are passionate about sharpening pencils, and we think, you know, I can sharpen pencils better than anyone. My pencils are the most incredible things. They're almost deadly sharp. But you know what? No one's probably going to pay you professionally to sharpen pencils. Maybe not the greatest analogy, but you get the idea, is that you've got to have something that you're going to be offering that people will kind of want. So the second question we really need to ask is, does the market want that? And is there a need for it? Yeah, we all need the pencils sharpened, but is there a need that people will pay for? Is there, you know, that a missing part of the entertainment side of weddings that is not there right now for a lot of couples? They're looking at how they can implement streaming into their day, their small or changed day. There's going to be some needs out there that are going to be things that will evolve over the next 2 to 3 years. There's going to be some needs that go away when it comes to weddings, and there's going to be some needs that are modified. You really have to look at it is what you're going to be offering. Will there be a market for it, basically, and the need for that? Then you're going to have to basically look honestly about what is out there for competition. Sometimes that competition isn't just that, okay, I want to do a photo booth, but there might be competition with photographers that aren't doing a photo booth, but maybe they're doing something similar that is competing with it. Or some inexpensive, some newer photographers that are in your market that are out there doing something that competes with what you're trying, whatever. There can be competition not only directly, but there can be some indirect competition for what you're wanting to do. And this is an area where sometimes people are like, oh, but I'm the greatest pencil sharpener in the world. No one can do it as well as me, so I have no competition. No, that's incorrect. Your competition could be somebody with a utility knife or a jackknife. It could be somebody who has a rock those are all people who they're able to make that pencil right and sharpen a little bit enough to write. So there's a lot of competition. You have to be honest with yourself about what is a competitive thing and which one is going to be direct competition when it comes to this, so you can make a wise decision if it's going to be something to start that business and do that type of thing. So to kind of go through and figure out the competition that's out there, let's say you're going to go and you want to do a photo booth as an example, and you're like not seeing many of them. Well, first thing you need to do is check other places of where you're going to find that. And we're going to start with the online sources of where you start your search, because online obviously is the easiest and cheapest for us. You can go to Google search. You might go wedding entertainer in the main city you want to work, or photo booth for the city you want to work, or wedding photo booth, whatever. Do a variety of different searches. This isn't a 20-minute, 10-minute thing. This is something that you need to look at all the different possibilities, and even watch when you're typing into Google some of the keywords and see what else pops up. Doing an exhaustive search to be able to find as many potential competition, direct competition, and maybe side competitions for what you're doing, and take notes. Copy their URL, put it on a little spreadsheet so you can bounce back to that later. But you want to do an exhaustive search backwards, forwards, and upside down to make sure you've got pretty much everything that's out there. Then there's a lot of these listing services that are out there. The Knot is out there doing this. You guys have seen that, Wedding Wire, what have you. There's many of them out there. When you do a search for weddings in your area, you're going to find them. Go through and spend some time going through to see who's there, what they're offering. Go to their websites. Again, when you get to their websites, copy those URLs so that way you can go and use this as a resource for later to be able to find out more about what everyone else is doing and what they're offering in your market. Those listing services are going to be a huge help. It might show you that some of these listing services are going to show you a lot of vendors who are from a neighboring city, but there's really not anyone in your city who is in that listing service, which can be good, but it also can give you a false level of sense of that you're on the right track because maybe the people in your market don't advertise there. That might be over in that particular vicinity, but here they advertise differently, and there could be, you're looking, it's like, wow, no one is doing this in my market. No, there's probably 200 people who are doing it in your market. They just aren't advertising there. So look, but don't think this is a definitive search. A lot of local bridal show companies have been putting more elaborate websites up. They had their bridal show. They maybe did 2 or 3 at one time. Now they're not doing as many. Some are actually getting out of the bridal show, especially now. They're getting out of the bridal show business of live shows and doing virtual shows. Spend some time looking at their websites. And again, you're going to see many of these companies that are showing up in multiple spots. Realize that that's their marketing budget. That's not because they may not be the biggest ones, the biggest players. They might just be allocating the most money to marketing. You've got to look at these different things, find out, again, who's going to be the competition that you have to be looking at because they are offering a similar service to what you're going to be doing. So that's a good spot to go look. On Facebook, if you are near a major town that does a lot of weddings, and the way you can find out is, truthfully, counties, you can go to the CDC website, and you can, I think CDC, because it seems weird, but yes, you can go out there and you can find reports on a number of weddings in counties around the United States. That data is out there. You can go and you can find these groups. So I know a lot of weddings happen over in Fredericks County, whatever. I can go and say, hey, what's the major town in Fredericks County? Great. I can go in there and look and see if there's a wedding group for that town. And there are wedding groups pretty much all the way across the country. And getting involved with some of these wedding groups, and most of the time it's like, hey, I've got my shoes from last weekend for sale or decorations. But some of those wedding groups are going to give you some insight to what people are talking about and such. So don't overlook those resources. Again, it's all free. So it's just a matter of your time to go find these things. Then the final thing is we talked about some of the websites up on top that we were looking for our competition there. It might be one of these things where you're going to your local tuxedo shop or your local bridal shop, their websites, because some of them have some referred or preferred vendors on there. Some of the venues have a preferred vendor area. Go and spend some time looking at the other vendors in your area to go and find out who they're recommending talking about or how they're listed on there, because that's going to help you to draw a better picture of who's out there and who's working. I kind of like this idea as one of the more effective ones from the standpoint that if I'm going to go and play at the local Radisson and I go to their local website and they have on their wedding side, and here are the local vendors we like to work with. Maybe Radisson's too big, but you've got the idea. That they would have some of those people who are there an awful lot and are involved an awful lot. Or maybe they put together a little digital booklet that is for brides that can be downloaded, and it has some different people that they work with. Those are the resources you want to be able to look at to get an idea of who's out there for competition, what the competition is, and hopefully it'll help you make a better decision of what your business, how your business is going to fit in. Once you need to start making some local connections here and asking questions. Once you've found some of these things and you get an idea of what you're going to offer, you need to be making some local connections and asking, do you think this is a good idea? And getting some opinions. Now, these opinions that you'll be getting from these different people in these different places, sometimes they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest idea ever, and it's not. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, that's stupid. There's a million of them, and there aren't. Sometimes people have invested interest one way or the other, and they could give you erroneous information. But this is a spot, again, where you can make some connections to ask those questions. You can ask questions, of the venue, the catering manager, the manager of the venue, or the venue captain, what have you. Asking questions, talking to them, and as Elton just talked about, how can I help you, and do different things to build those relationships. And then, hey, who does this who do you see the most often that's offering photo booth at this particular event? Who do you see that's offering uplighting at this event? Who do you see that? And they probably have a list. And if you get lucky, they might share that list with you and such, but probably not. But those are going to be great resources for what they have seen and who they've seen. And then they might actually go to the point of sharing with you some of the good and the bad, what they liked and didn't like. Getting back to the bridal shops is another great area to not only be able to find some of that on their vendor list, but to actually go and ask some questions about, hey, who have you seen out there that's just absolutely awesome? I'm looking to, start or be involved, or maybe I've got whatever. I'm wanting to see who's out there and who I can network with, and who do you recommend I network with? They will generally tell you people that they recommend to network with that are going to be someone who's going to treat you well, compared to going out and recommending someone who's going to treat you like dirt. Rental shops, if you've got wedding rental shops, ironically, all of our wedding rental shops pretty much in our area have closed, and they're closed for good. They just announced they're closed in this area. But they do get to see a lot of traffic, especially as outdoor weddings become a bigger thing now that people can't do the larger weddings. Rental shops are going to be a great resource sometimes. Probably not as much, because most of the time they just drop stuff off or people pick stuff up, but there could be some opportunity there to do some things. Event planners, if there are event planners in your market, not every market has people who are doing dedicated event planning, but if you do, that would be a great spot to be able to go and kind of pick their brain a little bit about who's out there and what they're doing right that the event planner loves, and what they don't like. Some people do really well with connecting with chambers of commerce, and they can get information there about, hey, who's out there that's really good. That might be a spot. It could be a dead end really quick, but it's worth a try. And school activity directors. Many schools they hire multiple DJs. Some of the activity directors have a Rolodex of DJs that they maintain. Some do, some don't. So it's one of those things. It could be a dead end, but all of these people can help put together the puzzle, or give you pieces to that puzzle, as far as what type of services, what type of quality and whatever. They're going to help you put together that picture for that. One of the biggest things, though, is you're going to need to ask with whatever you're doing is that market saturated? Are there too many right now today serving clients' needs? Now, you're going to have some days during the year where there could be 150 to 200 more type of thing, because everybody wants that date. That happens, whether it's some, whatever, June 6th of, 26, whatever those little number game things are going on. There's going to be dates like that. The average dates aren't that way, and many of those dates that there are too many vendors already in the markets, so that not everyone's able to fill their calendar at the level they need to. Knowing if the market is saturated is an important thing. This is where networking and learning from others in the industry, whether it's other photo booth owners or DJs or uplighting companies, whatever, and talking to them and finding out exactly how often are they looking to find someone else to help with things. Those conversations are going to lead you a long way to find out if this is indeed an oversaturated market. Another spot is to look at how many weddings are out there, and talking to the venues and finding out how many are actually doing wedding and wedding dances or wedding activities. These things will tell you with oversaturation. Then we're going to go back and kind of figure out what our competition, what are they offering? Are they offering this with the uplighting, and this is their uplighting packages? Are they offering cool things here? Are they offering photo booth with a lot of props, which is probably gone? What are they offering, the competition offering, to know that if I'm offering the same thing, then I'm just another also ran, or if I can offer something different that isn't out there. Again, our research, talking to all these different people we just were interviewing and such, is going to help you get that picture to know what your competition is doing and which direction you need to go if you want to make yourself stand out and different. Then probably the biggest question is if it's not oversaturated and I know what my competition is doing, can I find enough customers, or my prime audience? Are there enough people out there to hire my services? Maybe I want to be the boutique person in my market, and I'm going to charge $1 million for it. And guess what? There are a couple of people in my market that would do that. Maybe a half of a percent of the percent, whatever, a tenth of a percent of the weddings would hire someone at that rate. And again, I threw a huge number out. Well, if you're only talking 100 weddings a year, well, that's probably, or 100 weddings in your market a year. If you get 1% of those weddings, that's one wedding. If there's 1,000 weddings and you're only appealing to a tenth of a percent, you're not doing very well. You're getting 10 weddings a year, and that's not going to put food on a table for most businesses. So you have to be sure that what you're offering is going to appeal to enough people. And again, all these little research things are kind of going together, and there's a lot of overlap in this, but it helps to give you a picture to project your success. So once you've gone and looked and you figured that there's enough opportunity, you've seen that there's enough weddings going on in your market, and you're offering something unique enough, and you think there's enough people that you can reach, you really have to kind of figure out how many are potential sales for you in the market. Will you be able to make 50 sales a year with that? There's enough people who are getting into that world. Is it something that you're going to be making less than that? Well, a lot of this is going to depend on the buying trends of your potential clients, and the kind of the likes and dislikes and what kind of things they're into, because people who buy one way, there's some tendencies that they have, and to be able to find that person is what I want to dig into next in our research. You need to really get into that prospect research as the next part of it to find out if there's enough people to maintain or to create that business. First off, you want to look at numbers of people. You can go to Facebook and do things. You go into the ad manager side of things, and you can do some searches and find out, you can enter, kind of put together a mock ad. Not that you're going to run it, but you can start putting things together, and you can go through and you can target. In the targeting, you can go and I want to find how many people have been engaged for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. I think it's 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. You can actually go and find out how many people are engaged, how many women are engaged, how many men are engaged in this little geographic region around your spot, and gives you a better picture of what's out there of people who are claiming to be engaged in that at that given moment on Facebook. Now, this isn't a completely accurate thing. Obviously, there could be a lot more. There could be a lot less, because a lot of people might be saying, "Oh yes, I'm engaged and I'm there." Rolodex. I didn't see that, Wolf. But they might be saying they're engaged and they've been engaged for 5 years. Whatever. It shouldn't be that way because of the 3-month thing. But there's people who are like back and forth. So it's an indicator of what there's potential out there. Doesn't mean it's all the accurate and truth. Another spot to go look, and some people who do a lot of stats crunching, there's census data out there that talks about the median income of homes in your area, and this, that, and the other thing. There's a lot of information that's available out there. Some of it is gathered in the census, some of it is gathered out with third-party things. But some of that data on the market is actually really kind of neat to go and dig into, because it gives you an idea. If you have a market that you look at, and it's like, it doesn't feel like it's that ritzy, but you're finding out that the average home price and the average income is way higher than you expected, that might be a telling sign that there are people who would invest in creating a moment, but no one is offering them that. That could be the case. There are markets like that. And it might be the other situation where you're finding out that, wow, the average income here is a hair above the poverty level, and yet people are investing in entertainment at a high level. It might help you to kind of get an idea of where you should be putting yourself and what services you should offer. So census and other places that are sharing that information or creating that information. Another thing you need to look at is what kind of shopping is available in the market that you want to work. What type of stores, what kind of department stores are being successful? Which ones, as you go into these stores, are you seeing that 20-something couple where they shop, where they are doing their thing? And what are those, where are those priced at? Are they all going, are those the 20-somethings? Are they all going to your local Walmart? Are they all going here, there, the other? Are they going to, are there some a lot of higher end stores in your market that people are utilizing? That's going to help give you an idea of where your services can be and where they're going to be. If you have a lot of high end stores that are doing very, very well in your market, that might be an indicator that, hey, that our market will cater to that client. As opposed to if the most of your people in your market there aren't any of the higher end stores and they're all doing small big box or the lower level big box stores. That's another indicator that while there are some higher end clients in your market, most are buying and shopping, and that's where they are because that's what's available. If there was room for a big store and they thought they could make a lot of money off a high-end store, they would be there. Then also look at the restaurants in the area. Are the restaurants, do you have, obviously there's going to be more burger places than there are steak houses, but are there steak houses or fine dining establishments that are succeeding? Or basically, is it more of a burger, and a burger and a inexpensive steak? Are there places where there are $50 to $100 a plate? That's kind of the starting point that are doing well in your market. Or is it pretty much the $20 to $30 plate is the most expensive on the menu, and that seems to be what's going on? It's going to give you a good idea of what that market will handle when it comes to the more exclusive boutique numbers that are available, or more of the workaday type numbers. Let's see, I'm going to continue on here. Getting towards the end here. So once you've done all your research and you've kind of figured out what type of business things you want, you think that you have enough customers and such, and the potentials for that, and you've looked at all these factors, and if you still feel that, okay, what I'm putting together as I'm researching and getting this information still is a viable business option. And truthfully, in something like this, you really need to spend more time convincing yourself that it is a good idea. It's almost better to go into it thinking that, this may not be the greatest idea I've ever had. Because if we go into it and saying it's my greatest idea ever, we may not be as objective. So you got to come into it somewhere. We go through all this research, and as you're going through, you're like, yeah, I can see there's a niche, I can fill it, I can do this, and there's customers, and I can this, and all these things come together. Once we have it to that point, we need to basically get a small business focus group. That focus group could be some trusted business people. In my community, there are some people who they would be, in essence, a little older than myself, that are not in the entertainment world, who I would consider a mentor. And I would have no problem going through and having coffee with them and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. This is what I've been putting together, and this is what I'm working on, and I think this could work. What are your thoughts on that? And they would have you go through and go through and kind of talk about the different things. But the kind of things they're going to ask you or want to know about is for you to define that ideal client. You need to have that visual picture, and you need to be able to convey that to them in a quick and orderly fashion. Because if you can't talk about that ideal client, you're never going to be able to sell to that person. So that's going to be really one of the first things they're going to want to know. Then they're going to want to know what kind of services you're going to be offering that ideal client. What's going to be offered that's going to be appealing enough for them to be able to part with their hard-earned money and hire you to do those services. Then they're going to want to know something about, what's the potential sales? How many events are you going to be able to do and sell through the course of the year? What are the opportunities for events? Is it seasonal? Is it a year-round thing? Is it something you can do some here, this type of event in this part of the year, this type of event here? What is the sales potential? Because any one of these little red flags, if they all of a sudden sales potential, I think I'm going to sell $1 million. Well, how? If I just hang my shingle, they'll come running. Yeah, that's going to be something where a focus group is going to look at that and say, yeah, no, that's not going to go there. Then you're going to be talking about rate structure and how your rates are going to fit that client, fit those offerings, fit everything together, and be appealing enough that people will see the value in it to hire you to do that service. Again, these people are going to look at this objectively. It's our baby and it's our idea, and we're going to be like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to love my idea and they're going to pay me $10,000. No, probably not. There might be some, but this is something that third-party person is going to look at and say, yes, this is a good idea, or no, that's not such a great idea. And then they're going to want to get basically kind of an overview of your business operations, what vendors you're going to be using on the outside, what kind of things you're going to be doing so that you can succeed as a small business. So accountants, how you're going to handle your accounting, how you're going to handle the money coming in and payroll, what type of business you're going to set up. If you have somebody who's really into that side of things, like an advisor from SCORE, they're going to want to get into all of these details. Every detail that you have thought through and penciled and designed in the process is huge. And that's some of the things we're going to be going through in the upcoming shows, is really digging into a lot of these parts of it. But the idea from tonight is you've got an idea. You need to research it. You need to basically try to talk yourself out of it and then back into it and then back out of it, sleep on it, repeat, rinse, repeat, that kind of thing, to make sure that what you're going to be offering as a small business person is going to be something that people will buy and hopefully keep you employed throughout the years as you go forward with your small business. that's it for tonight's show. I just wanted to throw some thoughts out there and encourage you when you're starting up your business, spend the time, because it will help you avoid a lot of mistakes as you go forward when you are starting that small business.